Chapter 1: When Death Knocks on Your Door. The day my life changed was the day I met him. I felt emotions I had never felt before, and shouldn't have been able to feel but with him. It was different. I'm no ordinary girl, no. In fact, I'm far from it. I don't live in an ordinary place. I'm far from ordinary. I don't even think someone like me can be classed as normal. I know I'll never be a normal teenage girl. How do I know this? I know because staring right back at me is two ruby red eyes. Sighing, I look at my reflection in the mirror. Even down here in the underworld, I'm not considered normal. A demigod training as a reaper is unusual, I suppose. I'm almost certain one of the reasons I'm strange is my eyes. Reapers are born with natural dark red irises. Very similar to vampires, however. A reaper's eyes hold the specks of death, meaning small black specks are littered throughout the deep red. My eyes have these specks, but they don't have the dark color instead. My eyes represent the color of love. Rumors have been spread around the underworld that my eyes are what makes me dangerous. Despite being the daughter of Death himself, being a demigod is also classed as lethal. We don't have the pressure of rules. In fact, we can leave whenever we please. Demigods possess a free spirit as well as the powers of a god. However, I struggle to stray from my duty, in fact. I love it, and this love is exactly what defines me as far from normal. A normal 16-year-old girl would be at school studying hard to get the grades she wants in order to get that dream job she wishes. My future is already set out. Despite physically having a free soul, my choices are defined, but I don't let this stop me. No, I embrace it. The obstacles that stand in my way don't bother me. I know my destiny is to one day be the successor of my father. I know one day I will rule the underworld. And that's what makes me me. Raven Rouge Reaper, am dedicated to the death cycle. And nothing can stand in my way. Snapping out of my thoughts, I comb my long silky black locks while looking in my mirror. My skin is as pale as snow today. Pale skin was considered intimidating in the underworld, and I love it when people look at me with fear in their eyes. It made me feel remotely normal. Walking towards my dresser, I grab my favorite outfit. Putting on my black ruffle-trimmed dress, I grab my black silk hooded cloak and drape it around my shoulders, masking my face. I am the daughter of Death, so naturally one would mask their face as the Grim Reaper does. As cliché as it may be, I walk out of my chambers, heading towards the throne room where I find the Grim Reaper. There he was, summoning reapers and ghouls for their daily duties. Raven, my father exclaims, greeting me as I enter the large room. Statues are scattered along the back wall of the room, each representing something different. The very first statue in the room is one labeled Despair. The statue was modeled like a human crying out their despair to represent the loss of someone or the loss of their own life. Reapers were very familiar with this emotion when soul collecting. Not that I take much notice of it. In fact, I find it quite tedious. Why cry over something you can't change? Humans aren't all stupid after all. They know what death is. They even know who the Grim Reaper is. So why cry over the inevitable? I'll never understand humans. The second statue is labeled Execution. This statue had two beings in it. One being a human hunched over the other, a reaper holding their scythe up high above the human's body. The execution was representing the process of ending the human's life. Personally, my favorite part of the job. I find it so invigorating being able to fulfill what a reaper should. It makes me feel normal. Like I belong in the death cycle. The third statue is labeled Attain. This statue showed the reaper taking the human soul out of the body, therefore attaining it. Arguably the most annoying part of being a reaper. Some souls fight against us. And honestly, that doesn't help them when being judged. After all, they either end up wandering the plains of the underworld or ascend to greater, or worse things in the afterlife. The fourth statue is named Taken. It represented the point where a reaper would then lead a soul away from Earth, meaning it was taken away from human and being led to their new dwelling place. Best part of collecting a soul is leaving it. As I've mentioned, some souls can be annoying. You'd be surprised how many have tried flirting with me, even when they know they're a dead man. Women too. The fifth and final statue was created to represent Honor. This is where the reaper handed in the soul and was respected throughout the underworld by completing their duty. Honor is what I bask in. It's what shows that I am a reaper. And a good one at that. No one can argue against a good day's work, especially when I reach my quota before anyone else. Not to brag, but I am the best of the best. These 5 statues were the 5 things every Reaper had to complete in order to finish the day's work. But it just ain't enough for me. I feel like something is missing in my life. But what could that possibly be? Glancing away from the statues, I began to walk towards my beloved father. Mourning father, I curtsy to him, showing my respect. He is the god of death, and even though I am also a demigod of death, I must show my appreciation towards him. Don't be formal with me. You are the princess of the underworld. Act like it, my father exclaims to me. I simply nod. Everyone in the throne room turns to stare at me. Not to be egotistical, but my beauty is such a rare sight that even a glimpse would send your heart fluttering. This is why most of my soul-collecting duties are towards men, as just the sight of me makes them follow my every order. And I enjoyed manipulating them. I've been collecting souls since I was quite young. Of course, I couldn't manipulate men at a young age. I was mostly tasked with collecting children's souls back then. I have never hesitated in collecting a soul. I simply swish my scythe in the air, and the soul meekly follows me to the underworld. I've never wanted more in life. My duty is everything, it is all I care about. Many Reapers don't have a choice but to collect souls, however I enjoy it. One day I will be the one to take over the throne in the underworld, and when I do, I will become most grateful. Becoming the ruler of the underworld is such an honor. Of course, someone I know didn't want this honor and left the underworld. I haven't seen this person for 2 years, and if they ever cross my path again, they will certainly regret it. I hold no mercy to the people that betray me. To this day, only one person has betrayed me, and no one is stupid enough to follow in their footsteps. They all fear me too much. Which is why I'm the best at my job, what can I say? I love being a Reaper. Now Raven, my dear, I have a job for you today. I want you to go after a boy named Luke Smith. He lives on the outskirts of New York. Think you could manage? I'd love to, father. I walk towards my bone-ridden throne and grab my ruby scythe. Lifting it high into the air, I fling it onto the ground, causing a black cloud to surround my body. Soon I find myself in New York. Now the best part about being a Reaper was no one except the person chosen to die could see me. I scoured the streets until I bumped into Angel Gabriel. Gabe is a friend of mine. He was named after the original Angel Gabriel, as his parents wanted him to be as good as the best angel in heaven. He is captain of the heavenly guard on duty, Raven. He asks me, I nod. Gabriel and I were once friends before he turned towards the gates of heaven, he becoming an angel of God. Whilst I followed in my father's footsteps, becoming an angel of death. I never call myself that. I am named after the bird of death, therefore I am a Reaper. So whose unlucky soul are you collecting today? Gabriel asks me. A boy named Luke Smith, I state simply. Gabe looks at me, his eyes full of surprise. Oh, I know him. I'm surprised Grim wanted his soul, he says, scratching the back of his head as if he was hiding something from me. If my father wants his soul, I shall collect it, I beam. Looking at the nervous expression on his face, well, you sure he meant that, Luke? Did you get the surname wrong, he asks, starting to stutter on his words. Why? What's wrong with Luke Smith, I demand. I can tell he's not telling me something about the boy soul. He's a hybrid, he says, looking away from me. I see. Hybrids are what we call humans that change from good to bad to good, etc. We don't normally collect these souls as they are hard to see which category they belong in. Well, there must be something in his soul that my father wants, I shrug. I see, and he sent you to manipulate him, I nod. Gabe knows me too well, hold that thought, I say, sensing a demon's presence as a Reaper. We work very close to demons and ghouls, however they do have their own duty to collect condemned souls and take them to hell where Satan dwells. Satan's son was Leonardo, and he works very close with me. Now, if you're confused, I'll go through the death cycle. Angels collect the souls of those who are good once their life has ended. Demons collect the souls of those who have been cursed down to hell, and us Reapers reap the souls of the living, taking away their life if fate has decided their time has come. I loved reaping the souls of the living. It always fulfilled me somehow. From around the corner, Leo popped his head in. Oh, look who it is. My 2 most favorite people in the world, Leo says, coming in between the 2 of us. Quit it, Leo, Gabriel moans. Leo can be very annoying from time to time, which is surprising considering he is a demon. Ah, come on. At least let me see Raven smile. I shake my head viciously. A reaper does not smile unless it is for a devious reason, such as scaring someone. Let's just say when a reaper shows somewhat of a smirk. It isn't good, I'm on duty, I mutter. You're always on duty, he moans. Slumping on the spot. That's normally what you do when you're sent to Earth, Leo Gabriel says. Defending me well, what are you doing then, angel boy? Leo asks. I'm on a break, Gabe says. Leaning against a brick wall. Raven never takes breaks, Leo says. Glancing towards me because I hate Earth, I moan. Why would I take a break in a place I hate? I begin to walk away. Hey Raven, Leo calls after me. I freeze on the spot. Yes, I say, turning around. Wanna hang out later with me and Gabe, he asks, gesturing that he and Gabe would like to hang out. I grin mischievously. What are the chances that I get your soul, I say. Knowing the answer already. Ah, come on, Raven. You know demons don't have souls, Leo says, looking at me with a confused look. Exactly, I say as I begin to walk away. Once he realized what I meant. I began searching the streets of New York for this Luke guy. I'd never had this much trouble trying to locate someone. It was almost like he was hiding. I walk around for another half hour until I come across a dark alleyway. Down there I hear panting. I begin walking down there and I soon see a boy slumped against the wall. He turns his head and looks straight at me. It was Luke. Whoa, goth girl much, he chuckles. I narrow my eyes on him. He couldn't see it though due to the hood. I begin leaning on my ruby scythe. Is it Halloween already, Mrs. Grim Reaper? I laugh at this. I was the Grim Reaper's daughter after all. Luke, I say in calm voice. His eyes widen once I say this. Oh, please don't tell me you met me in Vegas. I can't handle another when I shake my head. I told you sometimes they can be good and sometimes they can be bad. This young man seems to see a lot of ladies in Vegas. I am here on another accord, I say, staring into his blue eyes. Are you British? He asks me. I shake my head. Your accent pretty much says it all. Luke scoffs as if he knows everything. Reapers just talk how they want to. Perhaps this is why I sound British. I never really put much thought into it. My father sounds this way. However, Gabe and Leo don't. I guess I picked it up within the more souls I collected. I did spend a lot of time in London collecting souls of people about to die from drowning in the Thames or people falling too drunk on the streets. I need you to come with me, I say stubbornly. Now, normally if a girl wants me to go somewhere with them, I need to bring a little protection, he says. Chuckling once again, his matter didn't surprise me. He thought I was leading him on. Although I would like to see your face, he says, looking at the hood. A smile appears on my face. He wouldn't be able to touch me, so my identity was pretty much secure. He begins walking towards me and places his hands on the brim of my hood. His hands should have gone right through that. What's going on? He soon pulled the hood down to my shoulders and I immediately covered my eyes. Hey, don't cover your eyes. I need to see them, he says. He was going to die. I suppose I could show him. Slowly I removed my hands and closed my eyelids. I lifted my head, then opened my eyes, staring at him. He slowly began backing away. You're a reaper, he says, backing into the wall. How did he know that mortals don't know they exist? How do you know that? I exclaim. He didn't answer. Instead, he began to run. I hate it when they think they can escape, I mutter. Taking hold of my ruby scythe, I slam it into the floor, creating an invisible wall around all escape routes. Luke came crashing into one and fell to his knees. I can't die, please, I can't. They all say that, I say as I take a step towards him. I lift my scythe into the air, ready to collect his soul, when someone jumps down from the building. In between the invisible walls I created. This person had watched the whole scene unfold. As I swing my scythe, a blonde-haired boy stood in front of Luke and let his soul be claimed. I stumble back as I realize what had happened. This boy was certainly something. My invisible walls began to disappear. Luke rose from the ground. I know this isn't over, and I know you took someone else's soul. But please give me time. He began to leave. I was amazed by everything he said. Oh, and one more thing, Raven, he said, turning to face me. He knew my name. You won't be taking my soul, and with that, he walked off down the street. I stand up and grab my ruby scythe. Father wasn't going to be happy. That I was certain of. I look at my reflection through a shop window. He knew I was a reaper. Perhaps it was my ruby eyes that gave it away. Or was it my pitch black hair? And how did he know my name? I knew I'd have to encounter him again, so for now, I would put up with the questions and return to the underworld. I pulled my hood over my head once again and returned home. Chapter 2: Luke's Tale. I returned home, and I wasn't surprised to see my father waiting impatiently on his throne for me. "Raven, whose soul did you collect today?" I shrug. I didn't know the boy look, father. I was getting that boy's soul like you asked, then a whole different boy jumped in front of him as soon as I swung my scythe. Luke then ran away before I could catch him. I exclaim, disappointed more in myself than he was with me. Do you understand how dangerous that is for the balance? Raven, I'll have to catch his soul before it gets to the underworld just to ensure that the fates don't take advantage of the balance being tipped. I stare at him in silence for a few moments. The fates are dangerous, they don't like humans. At all, they'd prefer them to all be dead. My father made a deal with them at the beginning of time. He promised that if he kept the balance of human lives in check, meaning when a new life is created, another needed to be taken, the fates would have to agree since it would keep them busy. After all, they were the ones deciding who would live or die. If that's the case, I'll send you out again tomorrow. Is that understood? My father says sternly, rubbing his temples with the palm of his hand. Understood, father, I say, curtsying as I leave the room. He may not have expressed it, but I could see the glint of shame in his eyes. He wasn't mad, he was disappointed and perhaps surprised. This is the first time I failed him. I've never collected the wrong soul or failed to collect the right one before. What happened to me? As soon as I arrive in my bedroom, I change into my red silk nightgown and decide to head in early for the night. As I get into bed, I couldn't help but wonder who that strange boy really is and how he knew my name. Luke's POV, those eyes were certainly something. They were the color of passion and love, but then again, she was a reaper. That means they could resemble the color of blood. I hated the thought of a pretty girl like her being the Grim Reaper's daughter. I still can't get the moment out of my head. She was just so mesmerizing, and how amazed she was that I could touch her in Reaper form. I guess she's never come across someone like me before. Then again, neither have I. It all started when I was left a note by a town witch. It said that I needed to seek her knowledge to understand what I am. Now, a normal kid probably would have ignored this note. But not me. I'd been experiencing some weird things over the previous weeks, and all I can say was my mind was a little frazzled. So I paid her a visit, and she told me I was stuck between two dimensions. This meant my soul was very rare, as I had the knowledge of the supernatural world, and I was living the life of a normal human. The witch explained I had my mother to thank for this. I remember the day she had taken my little brother Jamie and I away from our father because she was frightened. Jamie, oh how stupid he was. Why did he have to be the hero and jump in front of me? Did he seriously think that would save my life? I don't know how I'll be able to get him back. But I couldn't let his sacrifice be in vain still. The person that led to his demise was all I could think about. The witch told me that this condition made the godly world believe I was converted into a hybrid soul, which meant I got a lot of visits from angels and demons. They'd always argue about where they should send me or whether my soul was pure or condemned. But today was the first day I'd ever met a Reaper. The witch had told me all about Raven. She said one day she would fail to collect my soul and something would happen between us. I'm certain she won't get my soul because I won't let her take it, especially after what happened with Jamie. I've been living off the streets of New York for the past 17 years of my life. I wasn't going to quit while I was ahead, was I? But there was something strange about her. She wasn't like the others, in fact. I had a strange temptation to let her take my soul. I wanted to be at her command, and I knew this couldn't be a common love spell as they shouldn't work on me. Then how was that girl all I can think of? She clearly wasn't my type, but I couldn't help but see those ruby eyes in my mind and think how beautiful they were. I'll give her that one. She knows a good love spell. Well, Raven Reaper, I'm certain we shall meet again. But I'm afraid I have some bad news for you. I won't allow you to take me soul ever. Raven's POV. Today was the day I could feel it. I was going to complete my mission, no matter who gets in my way. I get dressed and grab my ruby scythe, leaving my bedroom. Father had told me he wanted me to work with Leo today, considering Satan and the Grim Reaper are best friends. I'm not surprised I'm working with his son. I walk into the throne room and my father points down the corridor. He thinks pointing adds more suspense, as well as staying silent. But as the daughter of death, I don't get scared that easily. I sigh and walk down the corridor, knowing who was waiting at the end of it. Well, if it isn't Raven. My favorite Reaper, Leo says, walking towards me. Leo the first mutter under my breath. He knows this is strictly just business. Yeah, I know we're on duty, he says, using his fingers as for emphasis on duty. Honestly, it's like he mocks me sometimes. Good, then let's go. I twirl my scythe in the air and transport us to New York. New York, I'm back, baby, I know you missed me. Leo exclaims towards the city. I sigh and begin walking down the street. Hey, you know, Raven, it would be a lot easier if you let me carry you while I fly around all the streets, he says, showing off the muscles he had, thinking he could flatter me into allowing him to carry my body. I hate Navi demons. You know I can fly too, Leo the first say, gesturing to my ruby scythe. Yeah, but it's more fun when I do it, he says proudly, as if he was some type of fancy vehicle. It's more idiotic when you do it, I mutter. Well, come on then, we're flying. The sooner this is done, the sooner we have some free time together, he states. Together, I ask sarcastically. You're going straight home after this, aren't you? Leo says in a disappointed tone. I nod as I swirl my scythe in the air, creating a black cloud underneath my feet. I slowly began to rise into the air and quickly get to work, searching around every street near me. Leo comes up alongside me with his red, leathery demon wings flapping in the air. I'll go left, you go right, he said. I nod and turn right, scouring the streets for Luke. I feel this strange pull from inside a cafe, turning my attention towards it until I realize he's inside. I hate it when I have to go inside places. People just make a big fuss. I see Leo approaching me as I float gently to the ground. Find him, he asked. I nod and point towards the cafe, mimicking what my father had done earlier this morning. Okay, I know your dad does the pointy thingy. And it totally creeps me out when you do it too. But that doesn't mean you have to do it. Leo exclaims. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I suppose. I pull my hood down and Leo gasps at that action. Haven't seen those eyes in a while, he says, staring into them. I give him a death glare and point inside. Go get him then, I exclaim, getting irritated at his games. Anything for those lips, he says, winking at me as he walks into the cafe. You wouldn't believe he's Satan's son. I wait impatiently for him until I finally see him approaching, with Luke struggling against his shoulder. People can't see you. They will think he's floating, I hiss. We're supposed to be keeping a low profile when collecting souls. It's okay, Rave. I used an invisibility spell. I roll my eyes and lead him down an abandoned alleyway. I watch as Leo throws Luke onto the hard gravel, hearing the mortal groan out in pain. Geez, man. I do have a head, you know, he says, rubbing it with his hand. Not for long, Leo mutters as I take a step towards him and stare at him intently. Who was the boy that sacrificed himself, I ask. I could feel Leo's eyes burning into the back of my head. Confused. He clearly doesn't know what happened yesterday. No one, the mortal says, looking to the floor. He was someone, I say, otherwise he wouldn't have a soul, I say in annoyance. Rolling my eyes, I want an answer, and I want it now. I know he's hiding something from me. After a few moments of silence pass over us, I watch as the mortal finally gives up in defeat, connecting his gaze with mine. He was my brother, he says guiltily. Your brother? Leo says, shocked. How did your brother know I would be taking your soul, I ask. Astonished myself, how could this have happened? His brother of all people. His brother out himself in harm's way just to save him. I know I'd never do that for my brother. As if I'd tell you, he sneers at me. After those words, Leo picks him up by his shirt and dangles him in the air. You better answer her. Otherwise you're going to have a lot of questions to answer from the Grim Reaper himself. He beams down to him. I nod my approval at his efforts. He isn't all bad to work with. I know, because I'm stuck in 2 dimensions. I can see supernatural and normal life take its toll, the mortal says. Finally giving in, you're trapped, I exclaim. Leo places him down, also confused by what he said. I knew who you were because a witch told me. So I told my brother Jamie. I didn't think he would sacrifice himself, he says, still looking guilty. I wouldn't be looking guilty if my brother had been sacrificed like his. Then again, I do not speak of my brother. And neither does anyone else. He's alive, I mutter, remembering that my father released his soul. What? He is? Luke exclaims, a joyful look in his eyes. My father needed to return his soul so that I can replace it with yours, I say, grinning down at him. Leo holds him down while I raise my scythe into the air. Goodbye Luke. Chapter 3 The Half-Breed. I found I couldn't move my scythe. I look up and saw a girl with long blonde hair and big blue eyes staring at me with despair. She grabs my scythe and throws it down the alley. Leo loosens his grip on Luke and soon he ran away with no words to say. I stare at the girl's face. She had an angelic aura around her, but angels know better than anyone that you shouldn't interrupt a reaper and their duty. So why was she? I sensed something else in her aura. She wasn't a full angel, but she wasn't human either. Who are you? I exclaim, looking deeply into her sapphire eyes. But she doesn't say anything. Instead, she disappears into thin air. Leo, what did you sense about her? I ask, still staring at the spot the girl was standing just moments ago. She's a half-breed. Half angel, but the other half I couldn't tell what it is, he exclaims, looking as confused as I was. Half-breed? I haven't seen one of them in a while. I thought they were banned. A relationship between two different beings were never allowed. It's always because the offspring turn out to be stronger than anyone actually thought. A half-breed is able to obtain two different abilities. Years ago, the gods had them killed. I remember my father calling it the blood war of the century. All the half-breeds were killed. As was a new law created stating that permission from the council must be sought before entering an intimate relationship with another species. And even the council hasn't accepted a case for years. Why am I always stopped on my soul duties with him? I moan, what's so special about this boy? What is he? Why are the fates suddenly deciding that his life string can't be cut? I need to have a word with the fates soon. Raven, I think that girl is from the prophecy, Leo says, staring endlessly into my eyes. How so? I ask, confused. She can't be the one. She can't be Charmaine. It's impossible. Charmaine isn't a half-breed. Didn't you see her eyes flash red? I think she's the one, he says, looking deadly serious at me. Bloody hell, I exclaim. Charmaine is returning, but so soon. Does that mean there's going to be a war when I don't know? But maybe this is why the fates are holding on to that boy's thread. Maybe he is a part of this somehow. You spend too much time in London, Leo sighs at my response. The prophecy was stated that in 1,000 years' time, a girl with unimaginable powers will be born on this earth only to be sent to a different time, being more powerful than she was before. It is stated that this girl will team up with death itself to save the supernatural world. Are we really going to die? The only way for the supernatural world to fall is if humans created a deadly weapon. Not that it would harm me, I'm death itself, but if this girl is going to the lengths to team up with the underworld, this must mean tragedy will fall. Leo, we are going to see my father, I say, fetching my scythe from the ground. That girl will be a mystery to me, all right. I love stopping by to say hello to Grim, Leo says, laughing at how he referred to my father. You treat him like he's your friend, I sigh. My father does have a soft spot for Leo. Well, he is in an awkward brotherly way, Leo says, grinning at me. We returned to the underworld, and my father was confused about why I couldn't obtain the boy's soul. Again, I don't understand. You had Satan's son with you this time, my father exclaims, gesturing to Leo. Grim, it's complicated, but we came across the girl from the prophecy, Leo says. You don't mean so it exists? He says, sounding shocked. We both nod. She came out of nowhere and threw my scythe aside. There's something about this boy that stops him from dying, I say through gritted teeth. Perhaps we should leave him for now, my father suggests. No, father, I can do this, I beam. I won't let some stupid mortal stop me from collecting his pathetic soul. Raven, you have never failed me before. If what you're saying is true, perhaps his soul isn't worth the risk anymore. My father says to me, his eyes not removing from mine. But father, I try to argue, but instead I just get interrupted. Not buts, Raven. I'll give you a new assignment tomorrow, father says, ending the conversation. I nod and bid farewell to Leo as he made his journey back to hell. I sigh as I left to go towards my room. That night I dreamt of the girl I saw earlier. She was running through the woods. She looked distressed. She had a mobile phone attached to her ear and suddenly screamed down it. She then hid in the bushes as someone shouted ally in the distance. Was this the girl's name? The scene began to grow blurry and I couldn't see no more. I was waking up. This girl was now haunting my dreams. What's going on? Is the prophecy real? My father had called me that morning. I got dressed quickly as possible and came to the throne room wearing my hood and ruffle-trimmed dress. He looks me in the eye and says, "I've been thinking about this girl." "Yes," I reply, eager to hear his thoughts on the matter. "I want you to go back to London," he says sternly. "What, why?" I ask, confused. I ask Leo if he noticed anything about the girl. He said he read her mind. The girl that was confronting you was dreaming. So he tracked where the dream was coming from, and it was London, he states to me seriously. But if she was dreaming, how did she stop me taking his soul? I ask, remembering how she grabbed my scythe and threw it across the floor. That's what I don't know. Anyway, I'm sending you and Leo to investigate. However, do not make contact with the girl, understand? He says, trying to make his point clear. But why? I moan. I wanted to confront the girl about stopping me. That boy's soul was in my grasp. We don't know what this girl is capable of. And she isn't exactly due for a Reaper visit, father says, retaliating to my moan. But father, I wanted to argue, but found I was being interrupted once again. Raven, my father scowls at me. I nod and follow where he was pointing. I then noticed that Leo and Gabriel were standing there. "Oh hey Raven, mind if I tag along?" Gabriel asks me. I shrugged. Why not, I say, creating a portal to London? This girl and her duty first stuff, Leo moans behind me. I pull my hood down and glare at him. Look at that. Pulling her hood down just to glare at you. You've done it. No, Leo, Gabriel says, patting his shoulder. I pull my hood back up and step through the portal with the boys tailing behind me. We came into the busy streets of London and began our search. Because Leo is a demon, he has the sense of smell just like a bloodhound. So I made him track the girl down. He leads us to a hospital down a side street. It was clear that it was a supernatural hospital, as magic was cloaking it so only supernaturals could see it. We all flew up into the air. Gabriel with his white feathered wings, Leo with his red leathery wings, and me with my black velvet feathered wings. I was called Raven for a reason, remember that? Whoa, Raven, using your wings today, Leo says. Astonished, I nod. I didn't want to make any noise using my scythe, so I decided to use these. Leo flies to the top floor and hovers outside a window. He points to it, then I look through the murky glass. I see her laying on a bed unconscious. What happened to the girl? I float into the room and stand by her side, staring intently at her. She looked just like a pure angel, but there was something else lurking in the darkness. I could sense a vampire. It appeared the boys did too as they came in by my side. Leo's orange eyes stare into a corner. Even Gabriel's crystal eyes seemed to sense something. I scanned the room, then came to a halt. Red eyes. Now Reaper's eyes were a ruby color with black swirling around the pupils like mine. These eyes were a blood red. There was a vampire in the room. Who are you? The voice demands. No one of your concern, Gabe says, standing his ground. Why don't you come out, vampire, Leo says, beckoning him. The figure takes a step out of the shadows. He has curly black locks and long canine fangs peering out from the edges of his mouth. I think it's of my concern if there's a demon, angel, and a Reaper standing next to my girlfriend, he says, gesturing to the unconscious girl on the bed. That voice, it was from the vision I had of the girl. He was the one shouting, ally, but you're a vampire. I exclaim. He shrugs. So is she, he says. Looking at ally, I saw the bite marks on her neck. You bit her, I say, looking at him. Yes, I did. I needed to, he says smugly. I knew the vampire inside her wouldn't last long if she was truly the angel goddess we had been searching for. Her pure powers would soon reject the vampire out of her. Surely this girl wasn't her, though. The goddess was a full angel, not a half-breed like her. But why, I ask? Still confused as to why he did this in the first place. Because there was a Reaper stalking her dreams. I thought she was gonna die, he says, glaring at me. I look back down at her. This girl was half angel, half vampire. She was a rare species. Perhaps that's why she is so powerful. But this means she can't be the girl from the prophecy. Only a full-fledged angel can stop the war. But something inside her seems to be fighting with her vampire half. Maybe she wasn't supposed to be turned. Maybe this is what fate is trying to prevent. She's our only hope. Fight that vampire, ally. Fight it. Why are you here, Reaper? And who even are you, he says, looking right at me. I look up at him and grin, even thought he can't see it. I am Raven Reaper, and I am here because your girlfriend was the girl that stopped me collecting a soul I beam. Stating the truth, Raven Reaper. What kind of name is that, he says, mocking it. The name my father gave me, I say proudly. Who's your father, he asks. Well, he was in for a surprise. I take a step closer to him. My father is Death itself, the infamous Grim Reaper. Chapter 4: The King of the Vampires. You're Death's daughter, the vampire said. Looking shocked, I nod. I have orders not to harm your girlfriend, so you can back off, I say, giving him a death glare. Why are you here then, he demands. Are you seriously that stupid, Leo asks him. The vampire looks at him funny. Don't you see? She's the girl from the prophecy, I say, pointing down to Ally. He looks down and his eyes grow wide. No, not my ally, she can't be. She can't even use her powers, he says, bringing his hands up to his head. You're actually being serious right now. You haven't taught her, I beam angrily. I don't know how to. I'm not an angel, the vampire screams back. But I am, Gabriel says, stepping forward. This brought an idea to my head, I know. If Gabriel teaches her to use her angel side, you let me visit your girlfriend to help me collect one soul. Just one soul, the vampire asks me, uncertain if he can trust me. Just one. The one she stopped me from getting. Call it payback if you will, I say, smirking down at the girl on the bed. You stopped me once, but you will not stop me again. As long as it's not her soul. You've got a deal, he says, speaking the truth. I brought out my hand for him to shake. He grabbed it firmly and we made the promise. I'll start teaching her tomorrow, okay, Gabe says, looking at the vampire. He nods towards him in agreement. Oh, by the way, vampire, what's your name? Leo asks him. That's a good point, I don't even know who he is. Adam Bloodbrook, he says, smiling as he said his name proudly. Bloodbrook, okay. I beam, looking at him with shock in my eyes. He nods to me, his sinister grin growing larger by the minute. You're the Vampire King, Leo says, him too astonished. Yeah, so who are all you then? I've met the Princess of Death, what about you two? He asks, gesturing to the two men beside me. I'm not a princess, I mutter. I hate being called a princess. A princess is innocent, royal, and graceful. I am none of those things. I am dark and sinister, and most importantly of all, I'm not afraid to kill. You kinda are, Raven, Leo says, trying to hide the small smile creeping into his lips. Shut up, Leo the first say, glaring at him. Well, as you now know, my name is Leonardo Hellington, Leo says, smiling at me due to the fact I had revealed his name. I roll my eyes and turn my attention back to the vampire. Hellington, the vampire asks, puzzled. Leo nods. Proud of his family name, yep. Son of the Satan and Prince of Hell, he says, being modest as usual, impressive. And what about you, Angel? Adam says, gesturing to Gabriel. I'm Angel Gabriel, son of the Angel Gabriel, but everyone calls me Gabe, he says simply. He has to verify that he isn't the Angel Gabriel everyone thinks he is. However, he is the captain of the Angel Guard, which is a very powerful in the god world. So you're named after your dad, he asks. Gabe humbly nods. Yeah, I'm captain of the Angel Guard, he says, smiling honestly. Alright then, now we're all introduced. This here is Ally Bloodbrook, he says, adding emphasis onto Bloodbrook to imply that they are together. You're married? I ask curiously. Looking down at the girl, I fail to see a ring. We will be soon, but she doesn't have a last name as her parents abandoned her at a very young age, so it's easier to say Bloodbrook, he says, a look of sympathy in his eyes as he looks down at her. This girl was an orphan. I can't believe that the girl that is supposedly going to save our world suffered so much. I can't feel sorry for her. I'm Death after all. I have no emotions. I can't love. I'm a god with no emotions thanks to my father. Well, we better leave, I say, looking at the boys. Adam nods. If I find that you're stalking my girlfriend without permission, I'll kill you, he says, smiling at me. You can try, dear vampire, you can certainly try. Oh, that's precious. The big bad vampire thinks he can kill Death. You can try if you want, I say, shrugging and jumping out the window. Soaring through the air, the boys fly next to me. Sass much, rave, Leo says, chuckling. I'm a god. He can't kill me, I shrug, not affected by his threat. I'll teach that girl and hopefully you two can team up, Gabe says casually. I stare at him in disbelief. Wait. The prophecy said she would team up with Death. I'm not fully Death, I protest. I'm only a demigod of death, not the god of death. Surely the girl will team up with my father. You said yourself she'd team up with you, Gabe says, using my own words against me. I meant people like me, I say, trying to avoid the possibility that the girl may team up with me. I can barely cope with Leo as a team. Well, surprise, surprise, Raven. She's gonna team up with you, Leo says. Sounding amused, I scowl at him under my velvet hood, firmly pulling it down further to avoid it flying back in the wind. The only people that have seen my face is Leo, Gabe, and my father. Why me, I mutter. I'm not the type of person to team up with someone. I take souls and rarely work with a demon. Nothing else. You didn't think she'd actually team up with your old man, did you? Leo asks, shocked. No. I just don't want to be chained down by her, I say, trying to be truthful. If you don't want her to chain you down, Raven, why did you ask for her help? Gabriel asks me, once again using my own words against me. She stopped me getting Luke's soul. She will aid me in receiving it, I say, trying to convince myself more than those two. Gabe sighs. It's your life, he mutters. I'm not alive anyway. The boys went back to heaven and hell as I returned to the underworld. I walked past my father trying to escape his gaze until he caught me. Raven, I have a few words to discuss with you, I curse under my breath as I walk towards him. Yes, father, I says irritably. You made contact, didn't you, he asks, a serious tone evident in his voice. I made contact, yes, but not with her, I say, standing my ground. Then with who, he asks, almost demanding for an answer. Her boyfriend, I say, slightly turning my gaze away from him. Raven. My father beams in anger. I only had him agree to her helping me get Luke's soul, I say, proving to him that this is all about my duty and nothing else. Raven, I discharged you from that mission, he says to me seriously, and I'm recharging back to that mission. Look, you only ask me when it's important. Do you actually believe any old reaper will go get his soul? I say, speaking exactly what he was thinking. My father shook his head. Then I'll start tomorrow, I say, walking away to my room. The next day I decide to take on a small mission. I hadn't collected a soul in days, so I decided to take a random soul. Lucy Jones. Well, she's destined to die. May as well take her soul, I say out loud. I wave my scythe in the air and find myself inside a teenage girl's room. I look outside the window and see thousands of bright lights before me, shining throughout streets. Horses trot alongside the busy road, pulling happy families down the pier to my right. The tower lit up in thousands of colors. I knew immediately where I was. To confirm my destination, a man sat beside the road attempting to persuade children and drunks to buy his amazing lights, hats and flashing wands. I was in Blackpool. The door to the bedroom opens and a girl with short brown hair walks into the room. Her green eyes stare at me. Hello, Lucy, I say, starting off the conversation. Who are you, she asks, pointing to my hood. Death, I'm afraid. So sad, you look very young, I say, gesturing to her appearance. She is very beautiful. So you're not here for my nan? That's good, she says, sounding relieved. Your nan still has a long time to live, I assure you, I say to make her feel better. Then why do I have to die, she questions me. I hate this part of my job. They end up running away screaming bloody murder. I sigh. Show me your arm, I say, pointing to her sleeves. Why do you need to see my arm, she questions, slowly placing it behind her back. I'm not stupid. I've met thousands in the same position as you are. I'm here to put you out of your misery, Lucy, I say passionately. She pulls her sleeve up, revealing scars. Girls at school, I question. Assuming a bully situation, she sadly nods. Come here. I'll take you to the world of the dead. There you can decide to go on becoming a ghost or ghoul, I say, looking apologetically into her eyes. She was suffering from depression. All I could offer to her was to haunt the girls that did this to her. I don't feel sorry for he, though I can't after all. Do I not get to go to heaven, she asks. Immediately I shook my head. Afraid not. You're suffering too much. You need to get it out of your system. Once you have done that, you can go to heaven. She cheers up immediately. I get to be with Jake, she replies. Assuming he's dead, I nod. Per girl. Now I suggest you haunt those girls. She nods to my suggestion. I smile. I raise my scythe in the air and swing it down before her. Lucy's body grows limp and falls to the floor, her soul floating above it. I extend a hand towards her and lead her away so she can find happiness. I bring her to the underworld and say farewell as she goes to haunt those who hurt her and say goodbye to those she loved. I came home and waited a couple hours before leaving to find Ally. Chapter 5: The Girl from the Prophecy. I knew that Gabe hadn't visited her yet, but I couldn't help but want to watch what this girl was capable of. I decided to teleport myself outside the king's mansion and hide in the bushes. I can see Ally and another girl arguing with Adam. What has he done now? I shrug it off, thinking it's nothing. But then I watch as the other girl runs off. What's happened now? I look back up and I am greeted by two gray piercing eyes. Adam spotted me. It's not like he can kill me anyway. He turns back to Ally and I can faintly hear her screaming at him. Great, this girl has a temper. Then all of a sudden, Adam seems to say something, causing Ally to back up into the wall. What did he say? Ally looks frightened. And then my eyes narrow watching Adam as he reaches out for her neck. Adam, don't do it. I watch as he hangs her in the air, holding her at the neck. Gabe, I scream desperately. Gabe appears beside me and I point to the window. Raven, we can't in fear, he says, the upset look in his arctic blue eyes. I don't care. He's going to kill her, I scream. I beam myself into the room. Adam immediately drops Ally, gasping for air. Gabe runs right to her side. What the hell are you doing here? Adam glares at me. I place my hand up to silence him. You can't kill her, I scream. Does it matter? You're going to kill her anyway, he says, causing Ally to look up at me afraid. I never said I'd kill her, I retaliate. You're a Reaper, it's your job. Adam scoffs, scowling. I put him back in his place. And your job was to protect her. I can see we are both wrong. I look at Gabe and he nods at me. He lifts Ally up into his arms, put her down. Adam beams. I silence him again. Adam, I'm taking her to the underworld, I state. Seriously, what? Why? He asks in an angered tone. Because you won't be able to reach her there. She will be safe, I shout to him. Gabe disappears off to the underworld as I grab my ruby scythe and swirl it in the air. Control yourself, your highness, I say before I leave him with his head in his hands. When I arrive at the underworld, my father is clearly shocked to see Ally there. I shrug it off and tell Gabe to take her to my chambers. Raven, my father beams. Great. I really don't think I can deal with my father right now. I start to explain the whole situation to him, constantly respecting how she is now my responsibility and that he shouldn't worry. If I didn't get her out of there, she would have died. And she'd be no use to us dead now, would she? My father sighs but nods in agreement with me. She will train here then? Yes, he asks me. I nod. She had nowhere else to go after all. Oh, and father, send Leo to see Adam, I say, a smirk making its way onto my lips. But why? My father asks me. Satan's son is an appropriate punishment for treason against the supernatural world. Don't you think? I say, grinning under my hood. My father nods and I have to stifle back a laugh at the thought of Adam being beaten. I am a demigod of death, what do you expect? I walk towards my chambers and find Gabe laying Ally on the bed. What happened? I ask, looking at Ally's closed eyes. She seemed to fall unconscious at the sight of you, he says. Chuckling, I shrug. I have that effect on people, I say honestly. Gabe lets out another chuckle. I don't think that's a good thing, Rave, he says, smiling as he then makes his leave for the gates to heaven. I look down at the girl. So you're going to be teaming up with me? I look at her more intensely. She is pretty. Very pretty again. I can't believe this girl is the all-powerful one from the prophecy. It was the next day that Ally woke up. I slept in another room in case she woke up with a heart attack seeing me again. Not that I wouldn't like that though. Where am I? She mutters. In the underworld, I say. Walking in through the bedroom door, she screams. Backing up to the back of the bed. What now? I mutter. This girl can sure be a nuisance. Don't kill me, she says, using her arms as a form of protection. Why do humans always do that? I suppose they are fragile for a reason. Oh no, I can't possibly kill her when she uses her arms as a shield, I say sarcastically. Rolling my eyes. Why aren't you killing me? She asks. Astonished. Why would I kill you? I ask, raising an eyebrow at her. Well, you tried to kill this guy in my dream, she says, trailing off as she fiddles with her fingers. Luke, I mutter under my breath. His name was like poison rolling off my tongue. That reminds me, who are you? She asks, closely inspecting me. I'm Raven Reaper, daughter of death and princess of the underworld. I curtsy to her. Why are you bowing? She asks. You're going to be a queen. Get used to it, Cupcake, I say, grabbing my scythe. What are you doing? She asks. Get dressed. We're going out, I say, turning around to walk away. But I don't have anything to wear, she mutters, twirling a lock of blonde hair around her finger. Sighing, I decide to give her some clothes. I swirl my scythe in the air and fresh new clothes appear in front of her. Get dressed, I repeat, slamming the door. How am I going to handle living with this girl? She can't even handle herself. Suddenly, I can see Leo barging down the hall. Leo, I say astonished. He barges straight towards me. Rave. I did what you said. I paid the king a visit. He doesn't look good, he says, looking stressed out. Well, he has just lost his soulmate, I exclaim, crossing my arms over my chest. It's a punishment. Of course he's not supposed to look good now. It's not that he stammers. What is it then, I ask, becoming concerned at his serious tone. She hasn't had blood since she turned, he says, causing me to look at him in shock. What, I scream. I barge back into the room and find Ally collapsed in the bathroom. It looks like she fainted just after she got dressed. Leo the first need blood now, I scream, gesturing towards her state. Already on it, he says, pushing past me to Ally. He holds out a carton of blood, tilts her head back. He pours the blood into her mouth. Please let her live, we need her. I turn away, unable to watch, but relief washes over me as I hear coughing. I turn around and see Ally sitting up, looking ashamed at what she had just had to drink. Ally, you almost died, Leo says, shaking her shoulders. Who are you, she asks, looking into his eyes curiously. That's Leo, Satan's son, I say, staring into her sapphire eyes. What would I have done if she was dead? Oh, okay, she shrugs it off as if it was nothing. Who is this girl? She's afraid of death, but not the devil. You're not shocked, Leo says, astonished. I'm not the only one thinking she's crazy. My boyfriend's a vampire king. Can't get any more extreme, she says simply. She's too naive, Ally. You're in the underworld with Death's daughter, you know. Leo says. I laugh. I finally realize what's going on. She knows, Leo. She's not scared. She's from the prophecy after all, I say, realizing her courage has to come from somewhere. Leo turns back to her. Why didn't you tell us you hadn't eaten, he says, scolding her. I guess she really worried him. I wish he wouldn't get so emotionally attached. I didn't want blood, she says, looking down to the floor. She's stupid. Did she completely forget that thousands of lives are relying on her? And if she doesn't survive, then not only are the supernaturals in danger, but also the world. Come on, we're going out, I say, pulling her off the floor. Where are we going? She asks. To get my payback, I say, slamming the door behind me. Chapter 6. Revenge is not so sweet. You wouldn't, Ally says, gasping. Oh, but I would, I say, smirking. I'm that desperate to get revenge on Ally that I didn't even bother being sinisterly quiet like I normally would be in a situation like this. She will help me get Luke's soul whether she likes it or not. She stopped me from retrieving it, so now she will assist me in getting it. I couldn't think of a better punishment even if I wanted to. I teleport us to the streets of New York. Ally had finally figured out what was going on as I drag her down side street after side street. I stopped you for a reason, Raven, she says, attempting a serious tone. You were human. Your stupid morals stopped me, I state bitterly. That's not the point, she moans. Oh, grow a pair. You're gonna kill someone in the future to feed anyway, I say. Ending the conversation. Ally's eyes grow wide. Oh, good girl, you remembered you're a vampire. I sigh as I come to a stop. We had searched everywhere in New York. I couldn't sense Luke's aura. Where the hell is he? Ally began taping my shoulder. Not now, I'm busy, I state, shaking off her arm. Raven, but, she cries before I interrupt. Ally, I'm trying to find him. I beam. Find who? A familiar voice says behind me and Ally. I slowly turn around and come face to face with the vampire king himself. Adam, what are you doing here? I sigh, standing in front of Ally. I'm here for my girlfriend, he says simply. Ally begins to cower behind me. Yeah, I'd be scared too if my maniac boyfriend tried to kill me. Adam, you can see you're not wanted, I say, pointing to Ally. I've waited 1,000 years for her return, Adam says broadly. Really? I couldn't tell by the fact you were suffocating her. Must be a vampire romance thing, I say sarcastically. Don't sass me, Reaper, Adam snaps at me. Oh, sorry. Who's the one who tried to kill their soulmate? Oh, yeah, it wasn't me, I beam. Stop it. I command you, Adam shouts, taking a step towards me in an attempt of intimidation. Look, vampire, in case you have forgotten, I'm princess of the underworld. You know what that means, I say, rolling my eyes. Adam shrugs. This makes a sinister smile appear on my face. It means I have more power than you, your highness. May I remind you I placed mercy upon you, I say, referring to his actions. Mercy? What mercy? Adam says, clueless. I sigh. You should be arrested for high treason against the supernatural court. You tried to kill Ally, who you know is our savior, I state, as if it was obvious. Treason? Adam laughs. She is just a simple asset to me. She's nothing more than a pet, he states coldly. This wasn't Adam talking, this was anger talking. I wonder how Ally is taking all of this. I snap my fingers and my scythe appears in my free hand. Easy way or hard, I say, staring into his blood-red eyes. I saw my reflection in my scythe, noticing my eyes had grown black. Daughter of Death, people, not unexpected. Adam lunges at me, I sigh. They always choose the hard way, I mutter. I swing my scythe at him, grazing his left cheek. Damn, I missed. I let go of Ally's hand and snap my fingers once more. Leo appears by my side. You called, he says, leaning on the wall. I point towards Adam, who is healing his small graze. Leo chuckles. He cracks his knuckles and steps towards Adam. I cover Ally's eyes so she couldn't see anything. Leo punches Adam so hard. He goes crashing into the wall. I smile at the outcome. Leo, keep him busy, I beam. Leo nods as he carries on with his street brawl with Adam. My black wings emerge from my back and I grab Ally. Soaring through the sky. Keep an eye out for a blonde-haired boy like the one in your dream, I say. Scouring the streets. Ally looks until I feel a pull from my chest leading to the right. I swoop around the trees and Ally screams there. Ally cries. I look down and see Luke laying on the floor. Perfect, he was defenseless. I land softly on the ground, letting go of Ally. Don't get in my way this time, I say seriously. Don't you want me to do anything, she meekly asks. Intimidated by my stance, I shake my head. All I want you to do is watch as I take his soul. This is your punishment, I state. Walking towards him, Raven, you can't, he's innocent. Remember, innocent till proven guilty, she cries. And he's been proven guilty, I sneer, aiming my scythe high above his body. Looks like I win, Luke, as I bring my scythe down. Ally screams, stop, she yells. I freeze in the middle of swinging my scythe. What's going on? What is she doing? Ally, release me. I bellow. If only you knew what it was like to be human, she sobs. I'll never know. I don't have emotions, I snap at her. I wish you learned to love someone, she says, looking at me with tearful eyes. She brings her small hands to my shoulders, and after those words, I could feel my body changing. My scythe disappears. My clothes begin to change into black jeans and a red top with matching shoes. I look at my reflection in a nearby window. My hair now has a red streak at the front and my skin has become more peachy. The worst part of all was I could feel a thud in my chest. Was my heart beating? No, this can't be. I'm Death, I don't have a heartbeat. I try to use my powers, but nothing works. Luke must have watched everything because he was also shocked. What have you done? I scream at Ally. She begins to slowly back away. You turned me into a mortal, how dare you? I scream again. Listen, Raven. Calm down, it was an accident, Ally says, backing into the wall. I was about to lunge at her when two strong hands grabbed onto my shoulders. I look back and see Luke holding me. Let me go, I scream, or what, you gonna take my soul? He snickers. I hear Ally call for Adam and he appears beside her. She buries her face in his chest as he lifts her off the ground. He looks at me strangely, then begins laughing. You turned mortal, he beams. I would have slapped him silly if it wasn't for Luke holding me tightly. Looks like I win, Adam says, disappearing with Ally. Luke let go of me and soon I saw Leo. He was glaring at Luke. What did you do to Rave? He bellows, lifting him off the floor by his shirt. Listen, buddy. This wasn't me, it was that vampire chick. Leo let go of him, he gasps, and then says, Ally. I nod, but you can't go to the underworld. You're not a demigod anymore, Leo says. I know, I couldn't do anything. I felt tears trickling down my cheeks. Was I crying? I've never cried in all my existence. Luke wipes my tears away. She can stay with me until you find a way to change her back, Luke says, glaring at Leo. I knew he didn't like this idea, but he didn't have a choice. I could die on the streets of New York. Leo nods. I'll fix this, Rave. I promise, and then he disappeared. The tears seemed to flow more frequently now. I had never felt so vulnerable in all my time I've existed. Luke placed an arm over my shoulders. Never thought I'd be helping the girl trying to kill me, he says, smiling. I'm sorry, it's just my duty, I said, sighing. He nods in understanding. I know, now let's go get you warmed up. You're freezing. I can't believe I need to survive now. I need to eat more and I need to stay warm. I want to be a reaper as soon as possible. Hurry, Leo.